Reba McEntire's story begins far from bright lights and sold-out arenas, on a rugged ranch near McAlester, Oklahoma, where hard work wasn't optional. It was survival. Born on March 28, 1955, Reba was the third of 4 children in a family deeply rooted in the rodeo world. Her father, Clark McEntire, was a championship steer roper, but trophies didn't translate into luxury. The family lived modestly, without indoor plumbing or even a telephone for years. Reba learned discipline early, helping with cattle before dawn and working long days under the Oklahoma sun. Music, however, offered something different, a sense of joy and escape. Her mother, Jacqueline, who once dreamed of a singing career herself, taught her children harmony during long road trips to rodeos. Those simple moments planted the seeds of something extraordinary. In a life shaped by grit and responsibility, Reba's voice became both an outlet and a promise, one that would eventually carry her far beyond the dusty pastures of her childhood. The Singing McEntires and a Dream takes shape. By the time Reba reached her teenage years, music had become more than a pastime. Alongside her siblings, Paik and Susie, she formed the Singing McEntires, performing at school events, rodeos, and talent shows across Oklahoma. Their harmonies stood out, earning them local recognition and even a small vinyl recording that later became a collector's item. Reba also became known for her powerful renditions of the national anthem at rodeo events, performances filled with confidence and emotion well beyond her years. Everything changed in 1974 when she sang at the National Finals Rodeo in Oklahoma City. In the audience was country artist Red Steagall, who immediately recognized something special. He encouraged her to pursue a professional career and helped open doors in Nashville. For Reba, it was a defining moment. The realization that her voice could take her somewhere new. What began as family harmonies had transformed into a genuine calling, and the path forward, though uncertain, suddenly felt possible. Nashville struggles and the cost of belief. In 1975, Reba and her mother packed up what little they could and drove to Nashville, leaving behind the security of home and family. Life there was anything but glamorous. They lived in small apartments, worked odd jobs, and spent countless hours waiting outside record label offices for opportunities that often never came. When Reba signed her first deal with Mercury Records, it felt like a breakthrough, but success didn't follow quickly. Her early singles struggled to chart, and her albums received modest attention at best. Financial stress became a constant companion, forcing her to perform in small venues for little pay while still covering recording costs. More frustrating was the creative tension. The label pushed her toward a pop-leaning sound that didn't reflect who she was. Despite years of effort, progress felt painfully slow. By the early 1980s, Reba seriously considered quitting music altogether. 8 years into her Nashville journey, she faced a crossroads, one that would test not just her talent, but her faith in herself. Finding her sound and finally breaking through. Reba's persistence finally paid off in 1983 with her first #1 hit, Can't Even Get the Blues. The song wasn't an obvious choice, and she had to fight to record it. But its success proved she could command the charts on her own terms. Soon after, she made a bold move, leaving Mercury Records and signing with MCA, a decision that came with financial risk but creative freedom. Under the guidance of Jimmy Bowen, Reba returned to traditional country storytelling, choosing songs that reflected real emotion and lived experience. Albums like My Kind of Country and Whoever's in New England didn't just succeed. They helped redefine country music in the 1980s. Between 1984 and 1987, Reba won Female Vocalist of the Year 4 times in a row, a rare achievement that cemented her place at the top. She wasn't chasing trends anymore. She had found her voice, and audiences responded, not just to her sound, but to her honesty. Reinvention, stardom, and unthinkable loss. By the late 1980s, Reba McEntire was no longer just a successful singer. She was a full-fledged entertainer. Her concerts became theatrical, her image more refined, and her storytelling deeper. But in 1991, tragedy struck when a plane carrying members of her touring band crashed shortly after takeoff, killing everyone on board. Reba, grounded due to illness, survived by chance. The loss devastated her, shaking her personally and professionally. Rather than retreat, she turned to music as a way to grieve and heal. The result was For My Broken Heart, an album that captured sorrow with quiet strength. Fans connected deeply with its themes of loss and resilience, making it one of the most meaningful records of her career. Through unimaginable pain, Reba showed grace, honoring those she lost while continuing forward. It was a moment that reshaped her artistry, proving that vulnerability, when handled with sincerity, can be as powerful as triumph. The red dress and redefining expectations. In 1993, Reba stunned the country music world with a single appearance at the CMA Awards. Wearing a bold red gown while performing Does He Love You, she challenged long-held expectations of how a country star should look. The reaction was immediate and intense: admiration, shock, debate, but also something deeper. For years, Reba had been defined by a wholesome image shaped by tradition. That night symbolized growth, confidence, and self-ownership rather than rebellion. While the attention focused on the dress, the moment reflected a woman no longer asking permission to evolve. Her family had mixed reactions, but ultimately stood behind her. In hindsight, the event marked a cultural shift, showing that country artists could express themselves beyond rigid norms. Reba didn't abandon who she was. She expanded it. The moment became iconic not because of controversy, but because it represented a woman stepping fully into her power, unapologetically and authentically. Television's success and a new generation of fans. In 2001, Reba entered a new chapter with the sitcom Reba, introducing her to an entirely new audience. The show balanced humor with heart, focusing on resilience, family, and second chances. Airing during a sensitive time in American history, it resonated deeply with viewers and quickly became one of television's most beloved family comedies. Reba's performance surprised critics, proving her acting talent matched her musical ability. While filming, she continued recording albums and touring, maintaining chart success without missing a beat. The show ran for 6 seasons and became one of the most successful projects of her career. Beyond entertainment, Reba reshaped her public image. No longer just a country icon, but a relatable storyteller across mediums. It also demonstrated her work ethic, juggling music, acting, and business ventures with ease. For many fans, this era was their first introduction to Reba McEntire. And it made them stay. Love, loss, and starting over again. Reba's personal life reflected the same highs and lows as her career. Her early marriage ended as her professional demands grew, teaching her hard lessons about balance and sacrifice. Later, she built a life and business partnership that spanned decades, raising a son while managing a global career. When that marriage ended, the transition was difficult, forcing Reba to regain control of her professional world independently. Instead of retreating, she adapted, learning new skills, restructuring her team, and continuing to create. Motherhood remained central to her life, and she supported her son's dreams just as fiercely as her own had once been supported. These experiences added emotional depth to her music, making her later work feel grounded and reflective. Reba didn't present herself as flawless. She presented herself as human. That honesty became one of her greatest strengths, allowing fans to grow alongside her rather than simply admire her from afar. A legacy of strength, voice, and impact today. Reba McEntire's legacy reaches far beyond record sales or awards. She is respected as an artist who stood her ground creatively, adapted without losing herself, and used her platform with care. Whether advocating for fairness in the industry, mentoring younger artists, or expanding into business and philanthropy, her influence continues to evolve. Her induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame symbolized not just success, but endurance. Decades into her career, she remains relevant because her story is rooted in authenticity. Reba never chased controversy. She chased truth, growth, and connection. From a ranch in Oklahoma to global stages, her journey reflects resilience, faith, and the courage to keep going when quitting felt easier. In an industry that often moves on quickly, Reba McEntire stands as proof that longevity comes from knowing who you are and refusing to let the world tell you otherwise.